2, 1. You may now begin.
Good morning and welcome to the Housing Opportunity Commission's Development and Finance Committee meeting for November 22nd, 2024. I'm Commissioner Jeff Merkowitz. With us today are Commissioner and Chair of the Commission, Roy Priest, and Commissioner Robin Solomon. Also joining us are President Chelsea Andrews and Vice President Kayreen Brown and additional HOC staff. The first item on our agenda today is to approve the minutes from October 29th, 2024 from our DNFC committee meeting. We have minutes for the open and I believe closed sessions from that meeting.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? I will second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. We have a short agenda today. The only item on our agenda at the moment is approval of a financing plan for the Leggett. And I will turn it over to President Chelsea Andrews for discussion.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Merkowitz, Chair Merkowitz, commissioners, as well as the HOC team, members of the public. This particular item relates to getting to close on the Leggett. As you all know, commissioners, this project was quite an ambitious project for HOC. It entailed the development of not only the Leggett, but also a significant amenity in our county, the South County Regional Recreational and Aquatic Center, both of which are open and are beautiful and are being highly utilized. As we near towards the close of this particular development, we are addressing any closeout delays, making sure that we address the financing, as well as we'll be coming back to the commission with our final closing plan here. But at this juncture, because of the delays that the project experienced, which ultimately were related to both construction and lease up, which are intertwined, we need to do a very brief extension of our current loan with PNC. The mortgage finance team will walk you through the details, but the high level that I do want to share is that PNC, who has been a great partner for us in this transaction and many others, has maintained the same deal terms for this extension. It's a brief extension and it allows us to properly reconcile and get to a final closing of this development. I will turn it over to Mike Somerville, our VP of Mortgage Finance, along with Victoria Dixon, our senior multifamily underwriter, who are both handling this transaction. Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you, President Andrews. As President Andrews indicated, this is an amendment to the existing financing plan to facilitate an extension to get to the permanent conversion of the property. I'll be turning it over to Victoria Dixon, our senior multifamily underwriter, who will walk you through the materials. And with that, Victoria, take it away.
Commissioners. For the record, Victoria Dixon, senior multifamily underwriter in mortgage finance. We are here with the amendment of the financing plan for the Leggett, which is a request of additional funds to accommodate increased costs associated with delays in order to close out the transaction and additional applicable actions. The Leggett is a 267-unit age-restricted apartment community currently constructed in Silver Spring and formerly known as Elizabeth House 3. And on the next page, in 2019, HOC closed into construction financing of the property with the issuance of tax-exempt private activity bonds, which proceeds were used to fund a construction to permanent mortgage loan. A taxable construction loan with PNC was received with an extended maturity date of December 31st, 2024, and using the real estate line of credit with PNC to provide $33.7 million of bridge funding pending the receipt of LIHTC proceeds, and an additional $22.2 million of subordinate financing from HOC. As mentioned, despite best efforts due to a variety of factors outside of HOC's control regarding construction delays and slower absorption, closeout of the project has fallen approximately 17 months behind schedule. This has adversely impacted the property's ability to achieve stabilized occupancy and convert into the permanent phase for endorsement under the FHA risk share program or release LIHTC equity in the time frame originally projected. Based on the current absorption, the property is expected to reach stabilized occupancy of 93% by February 2025, with permanent conversion to be achievable by June 2025. In order to execute on resolving these delays, amendment of the financing plan with supportive actions are being requested to extend the construction period, provide sufficient funds to curtail the construction loan, funding closing costs, and delay commencement of amortization. Moving to the next page. Proceeds of the construction loan are being used as cash collateral for the bonds until the permanent FHA risk share endorsed mortgage is available for substitution. Such cash collateral will be used to repay the $3.6 million of short-term bonds, which are subject to mandatory tender and payable to bondholders on the January 1st, 2025 date. Initial terms have been obtained by PNC in order to extend the construction loan maturity by 6 months to June 30th, 2025, requiring a like-kind paydown of the loan amount by the similar $3.6 million on January 1st, 2025. Payment of legal expenses, which for PNC are estimated at $10,000, with no extension fees and all other terms remaining unchanged. The provided table represents a summary of the $3.6 million request for temporary proceeds of the FHA risk share reserve to make such payment to PNC and closing costs, including estimated consulting fees from bond counsel and HOC's financial advisor. Staff has confirmed sufficient property cash flow and accrued cash is available to service the construction loan during the extension period, while investment income from the cash collateral has been confirmed sufficient to pay bondholders. Moving to the last page, therefore, in order to execute on resolving these delays and provide sufficient funds, staff recommends with support of the Development and Finance Committee for the Commission to approve amendment of the financing plan as presented to include extension of the construction loan with PNC to June 30th, 2025, amendment of the mortgage loan to extend the date required for permanent conversion to occur by June 30th, 2025, and thereby delay the start of amortization. Issuance or amendment of an HOC loan by $3.6 million, which will be funded by way of the FHA risk share reserve until repaid by LIHTC equity contributions. And lastly, approval for the borrower and HOC to negotiate, accept, and execute loans in accordance with the financing plan. Are there any questions?
Just for my education, I don't know what an FHA risk share reserve is.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner, the FHA risk share reserve is basically almost very similar to a cash reserve to offset any obligation we have if there's a loss experienced on a loan. So with the risk share program, very similar to like a DUS loan program, the lender is taking a loss share of if an event occurs. So that risk share reserve is funds we've set aside to facilitate payment of any loss obligation we may occur in the future.
That's the top loss risk. Thank you. I'm curious about absorption beyond the construction delay. Why would absorption be slow? Are the rents appropriate, or is there something else?
So concessions are being offered at the property. The ones that are currently looking to lease are the 80% AMI units.
Yeah, I'd say generally absorption on, senior deals, particularly on the market rate side of senior deals, this is actually not that unusual in terms of the pace. Echoing Victoria's point, I think the main issue has been the larger than expected concessions in order to race to get to conversion and get the financing transition into the permanent phase. But ultimately we still think it's an exceptionally competitive building. The units are, there really are not equivalent units in the market, and we ultimately think we'll be able to work through, burn off concessions now that we, once we get sort of past this financing pressure and can really refocus on maximizing the 80% units in the market rate side.
I'll also chime in here. At this point, we're only 3 units away from 93%, which is where we need to be. And so hopefully we'll get a good turnout this weekend. But the good news is we're really, really close. And we do believe that we will be able to make our 93% and be able to maintain that. The other point of consideration with senior, it's not just the lease up, but there are unfortunately a higher amount of turnover that happens due to the age of the population we're serving. And there are and have been, unfortunately, circumstances where people have passed on or have had to move out to nursing homes. And so as we're keeping up with getting the units leased up, it's also maintaining that amount with the turnover that inherently is tied to this particular property and portfolio.
But your concessions won't affect your stabilization benchmarks in the partnership agreement?
No, in fact, the concessions are short-term concessions so that we can get to stabilization. And they haven't been too significant in terms of the financial outlay. It might be $100 concession or a $50 concession, but really nominal and just an incentive. We're also and have brought in a marketing firm to help us really target that 80% senior so that we can make sure that we quickly get to our occupancy requirements here.
I'm sorry, just one more question here. There's a footnote about the adjuster, right? Have you calculated what that would be, assuming June 30th is your?
We're in the process of calculating the adjuster. It looks like it may be around $3 million. And so we're working through that calculation. We'll have a better understanding here in the next few months.
Thank you. Jeff, Roy, I don't know if you know what the adjuster.
No, I don't know. Only, I just wanted to confirm we're comfortable with that June 30th date, that we'll have, that's enough time.
Yes, we are. And we've had an opportunity to look at and have been pretty conservative with our trends as we move along, and considering how close we are to getting to that stabilized amount, we do believe that the June 30th date is sufficient time.
And I would also just, a technical thing on the use of funds. It looks like the total use of funds number for the proposed is slightly off. Should match the proposed. So it should be 124,300 instead of 124,220.
Let's scroll up, and Victoria, can you address that?
I'm sorry, I think it's on the second page with the sources and uses table.
Jeff, do you want an explanation of the adjuster, or you know what?
I'm sorry, third, maybe next table.
Sure. But keep going down. Maybe it's the next page. Yeah, there. So I think the total use of funds.
Yes, I'll fix that.
Yeah. So I did not see the footnote that you were referring to, Robin.
Jack or somebody you want to explain an adjuster for benefit of Jeff and or Roy?
Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah, so tax credit deals are, a little bit counterintuitive because, regular real estate, sort of regular conventional real estate is about returns. So, basically what you're doing at the front end of a tax credit deal is you're projecting the timing of the delivery of the tax credits. And some of the major, there are lots of things that go into that, but really the major ones tend to be, did you build the units and put them into service when you said, where did you think occupancy in those tax credit units would be at a certain time? Things like that. Those tend to be like sort of the big ones. And adjusters, they're actually written into the limited partnership agreement. There can be upward adjusters or what are called downward adjusters. You want upward, you don't want downward. But upward adjusters could be if there's a higher construction cost related to a deal, that can sometimes be recognized and actually increase equity because LIHTC equity is generated by eligible costs. So really at the end, when you finally get to where you are placed in service and you have fully leased up, there's then a reaccounting done based on the original portfolio of, again, it's a numerous amount of things, but in general, it has to do with, how did they get their credits when they expected to get their credits, because ultimately that's their interest in the transaction. So in this case, because of construction delays and leasing delays, this calculated adjuster that's being mentioned is related to the difference from the pro forma and when the investor thought they were going to get these units and these units occupied.
Are there any additional questions? If not, can I get a motion to support the staff's recommendation and send this to the full commission?
Motion to support.
Is there a second?
Maybe you, Roy, is driving.
I will second. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion is approved. Are
you.
there any other
Thank you.
items to come before the committee today?
No, thank you.
Then I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.